not the law.
So you're alleging that counting of the voting was rigged. But also, why has the House suspended you and the other 12 lawmakers?
We left, the House was adjourned that we are going to resume on the 25th of March. Only for us to wake up this morning, a lot of thugs and police took over the Benue State House of Assembly complex that there's going to be a sitting. We were not invited. We were not informed as usual, through the usual process of inviting us if there was an emergency sitting or not. We were not told anything, only for us to hear on air that we, the 13 of us, are suspended from the assembly. On what ground? For carrying out our constitutional duty and responsibility as a people representing our people to speak and also represent them. We express the view of our people. Something that is not correct, it is not correct. We must not sugarcoat anything. So our people called us and say, you were part of this illegality. And we came out openly and we said, no, this thing, if we keep quiet, it will seem as if we're part of this illegality. Let us hold a press conference. So holding the press conference to tell our people that, no, that counting was not what was actually supposed to be done. Our votes were not counted, our voice were not heard. Our constituency did not participate in that purported removal of the Chief Justice. So we held a press conference and we told the world that we're not part of it. That is the reason why we are being suspended from the House.
You know, first you've raised an allegation and you've alleged that the counting was rigged. But if the other faction, the other lawmakers are saying there were 23 in numbers, constitutionally that makes 2/3 of the entire members of the House of Assembly.
23 against what number? 23 against what number? They didn't count the other numbers. If you record it, your reporters are there live, and other media organizations were there.
And that was why I asked if you raised an objection when that happened.
We did. We raised an objection. We raised a point of order, but the Speaker did not give us any opportunity to air our opinions.
All right. So let me stay with you before I go to Barrister Wilson. Did you reject any money that should have made you vote in favor of that removal? There are allegations that all the 32 members of the House were allegedly bribed to remove the Chief Judge, and that some of you rejected the money, and that's the reason you voted against the removal of the Chief Judge. Is that correct?
For some of us, they know that they cannot try us with that kind of fishy deals. So they did not even bother to call us, because we will stand by the truth and will tell them that this thing they are doing is not correct. So I was not even invited to that meeting where they were offered money. But some members returned the money because they just called them into a place and gave them book to sign and showed them money. They felt it was money for the assembly or money for our foreign trip or something. So when they realized at last, they started returning the money, because people started calling them that you are part of an illegality, or something is going on, and we heard from a reliable source that you are part of it. So they started returning the money because they felt, and they also know that that thing they are doing was a wrong thing. It was a bribe.
So it means those who did not return the money were those who voted in favor of that removal. Is that it?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. You know, part of the allegations leveled against Mr. Honorable Justice Ekpembese was overturning the Benue State electoral law. According to what we have, he was accused of misappropriating the Judiciary 2024 budgetary allocation. He showed undue favoritism and joined with or engaging with politicians and indirectly supporting the ongoing judicial workers' strike. These are the allegations, but what part of these allegations did you have an issue with?
The House of Assembly have a committee for judiciary ethics and privilege, which have the power to oversee the Chief Justice and the entire judiciary in Benue State. That committee have their responsibility. Why do they have to wait for the executive to bring an allegation that they will not commit the allegation to the committee for them to verify before taking an action. Me, for myself, I was a member of the committee before, and we knew how we vet the accounts of the judiciary, and we make sure we are thorough by performing our oversight function. We don't know where these figures came from, all the allegations that came. They came in the same day as the day they said we should remove the Chief Justice. You have not given us the privilege of even perusing or even having a private investigation into this matter. You just ask us to take a move on another arm of government that has its own independence.
I get you, Honorable, but I'm hoping that the majority leader joins us soon so we can have his own side of the story. Barrister, let me come to you. Please help us. NJC has released a statement where the council admitted to have received a petition against Honorable Justice just this morning, but it is yet to be investigated. What does the Constitution say about issues such as this? We have a Constitution that is clear and unambiguous. Did the Assembly just put the cart before the horse?
Yeah, thank you very much. So let me even back up a little bit. The doctrine of separation of powers provides a situation where the three arms of government are independent, but at the same time, they play complementary roles. Now, the whole idea of this is to avoid situations where one arm of government will attempt to act outside the powers that the Constitution allows it. Now, the Constitution is very emphatic. It has made provision for the establishment of the National Judicial Council. It also gives the NJC the powers to appoint and to remove and to, by other way, to discipline discipline judicial officers. Now, what happened in the Benue State House of Assembly is a complete violation of the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, what ought to have happened was the petition that was received after the purported removal is what ought to have gone in first. So there was supposed to be a petition to the NJC, and the NJC, in the exercise of its powers, would initiate an investigation into the allegations that were made against the CJ. Now, having purportedly removed the CJ, you now send a petition to the NJC. I mean, I can't wrap my head around it. So, yeah, so the NJC ought to have investigated, and then after investigation, and they find, remember, in the process of investigation, the CJ would have been invited. They would have given him fair hearing and let him state his own part of the story. At the end of the day, if the NJC finds that the CJ of Benue was guilty of those allegations, then the NJC can recommend the disciplinary actions. Yes. Now, there's another scenario, which is what they relied on, which is the scenario provided by Section 292 of the Constitution, where the State Assembly can remove the CJ. But there are conditions that must be, some of which I've stated already. There must be an investigation, and after that investigation can only be particularly an investigation bordering on misconduct, can only be investigated by the NJC. Now, this scenario, similar scenario, had played out before in Kwara State, and the parties went to court, from the High Court to the Court of Appeal and to the Supreme Court. In the case of Honorable Justice Elelu Habib. Now, in that case, it was even better because the House of Assembly even attempted to investigate. In this case of Benue State, the petition got to them, and in a short while, without even giving some of the members, as we have learned, an opportunity to even see what the allegations are about, or even inviting the CJ for for him to give him an opportunity to explain, they hurriedly passed a resolution removing the chief judge. Now, in Honorable Justice Habib's case, it went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Now, what did the Supreme Court say? You cannot remove, the House of Assembly of a state cannot remove the chief judge of that state without the involvement of the NJC. Now, as lawyers, I mean, the law in Nigeria, we believe a lot in precedents. So I am of the opinion, I hold very strongly, that the House of Assembly of Benue State, they were poorly advised, if at all they sought any advice. If they did, they would not have taken the steps that they did. And it's unfortunate, as lawyers, our hearts bleed, because at the end of the day, if we set a bad precedent, it will ruin the society.
Absolutely, Barrister. And to be clear, just so that I got you correctly, before you remove a judge, a petition must be written against the judge to the National Judicial Council, and they will determine to hear it. It is after they have heard it, they can decide to clear him or suspend him and recommend to the governor to remove him. And the Supreme Court ruled on this in, I think, 2009. And after that, this had happened in Osun, it had happened in Abia State. What does this say about the kind of democracy we practice here in Nigeria?
You know, like I said, it's very disheartening. And if we, the Constitution is very clear on most issues. Now, when you see parties who, in the face of the express provisions of the Constitution, start going against the same Constitution that they swore to uphold, it becomes a matter of great concern for our democracy. Now, Benue State House of Assembly, now nobody is saying you cannot remove the chief judge, but there are steps you must take. Yeah, procedures. And the law insists that those procedures, you must follow them to the latter. Because, again, that's why I started my conversation from explaining the principle of separation of powers.
All right.
Now, where a state assembly just decides to, I mean, hurriedly, purportedly remove a sitting chief judge or any judicial officer at all, it is a gross violation of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. All
right, thank you, Barrister. Let me come back to you, Honorable Agada. As a matter of fact, the NJC says Honorable Justice Ekpembese remains the chief judge of Benue State. But there was also an allegation raised concerning the Benue State electoral amendment law, and part of the amendment law mandated only the organizing secretary of political parties to submit names of delegates and candidates for the local government elections to the commission. The law also revealed that the tenure of the elected leadership of the local government councils is now 3 years as opposed to 2 years. What is it about the amended electoral law that the chief judge had overturned?
The chief judge of Benue State did not overturn anything that concerned the amendment of the local government law. If they feel he has done such thing, there is room for appeal, for them to appeal and present facts that a certain portion of the law was not adhered to. And the chief judge is there and is responsible for it. The appeal committee is not just one judge. It's not just the chief judge that will be responsible, that will be there to administer justice on that committee. There are teams of judges that will be there, and it is not only his decision that will stand. So if peradventure they feel or they are alleging that the chief judge has tampered with the electoral law, then onus lies on them to prove it, and also present facts or areas that the chief judge has taken a position that violates the electoral law. So all of these allegations against the chief judge have not been proven, and he has not been also given an opportunity to also defend himself or to show to the world that these allegations are either true or false.
Meaning so there was no fair hearing.
the position they took was rather too hasty, and for them to have reached such conclusions, we didn't have any evidence from the tribunal coming that Justice Maurice Bembese did such thing. And we from the house here, we are just getting as I'm talking to you as a member, I've not laid my eyes on the complaint, the petition against the Chief Justice, and it's not correct. As a member, all of us are entitled to go through the document and see, and even take our time to set up a committee to investigate, or maybe invite the Chief Judge or something. So the position that they have taken is rather too hasty. And that is why some of us exhume ourselves from such illegality and came out to tell the world that we were the defenders of democracy, defenders of constitutionalism, and we also stand by the oath that we took to defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that will not be part of that illegality. And that's how we came out and took our position.
All right. Another allegation is that the Chief Judge is indirectly supporting the ongoing judicial workers' strike. Judicial activities in Benue State have remained paralyzed for about 2 months now after the alleged state government left them out of the implementation of the new minimum wage. Let's talk about that, because I'm wondering why a judge will be punished for listening to the plight of judicial workers. What is the governor doing to ensure or make sure these workers go back to work, apart from the implementation of the minimum wage? Jusun's secretary was speaking to some journalists recently where he criticized the government for failing to pay peculiar allowances.
The judicial workers have the right to embark on strike, to express their grievances over non-implementation of this minimum wage. They do have the right. What the Chief Judge just did also allow them the freedom of expression to express their grievances, especially to the executive that is responsible for not implementing their minimum wage, and among other things that they have asked for. So it is totally unfair on the Chief Judge to say he is the one encouraging them to go on strike. Is this the first time that the union are going on strike? Were they not strike before he came to office? Where are the other Chief Justices responsible for inciting workers to go on strike? All those allegations are just frivolous, and they are not quite realistic.
All right, Barrister, let me come to you. Benue has had its own fair share of political instability, communal crisis and insecurity for a while now. Governor Alia is also battling internal party crisis. But when issues like this happen, where an authority can just assume power it does not have under the law, this automatically leads to anarchy. How do we ensure that this does not further destabilize the state?
Okay, thank you very much. If you go to Benue, for instance, you find out that there are so many litigations here and there before the strike. And now that the judiciary is on strike, those matters are not activated. But as citizens, the appropriate thing to do where you are dissatisfied or you disagree with the policy is to approach the court. And but now there are a couple of cases in Benue. Some are pending in other jurisdictions, at the Federal High Court, for instance, in Abuja. There are cases challenging the actions of government. Now, this is the only thing as lawyers that we know to do when issues like this arise. We advise the client, you go to court, approach the court, let the court be the determinant factor or whether or not the actions of government complained about are right or wrong. So, I mean, there are, because if you look at the number of cases that will reflect the feelings of the people, the feelings or dissatisfaction amongst the people if you look at the number of cases. Some of them worry us even as lawyers. But again, what we can do is to advise them, just let the law take its course, follow the due process of law, rather than, because any action taken outside what the law provides, like what the assembly did, will lead to anarchy, obviously. So the only thing we can do, or we advise people to do, just approach the court. And at the end of the day, the court is the best place to determine whether or not a policy or an action is wrong or right.
All right, Barrister, but is it too late for the House to revoke this decision?
The point is the decision is dead on arrival. It is as if it never happened. So it's not a question of it's dead on arrival. It never happened. It's a nullity completely. And that's why you can see the reaction of the NBA and then the reaction of the NJC. I saw that where they totally, as far as the NJC is concerned, Honorable Justice Ikpambase remains the Chief Judge of Benue State. So that action taken by the Benue State House of Assembly is a nullity, from dead on arrival. So it's not, how do you attempt to validate an illegality? It cannot happen. You cannot put something on nothing. There's nothing to revert to. It was an illegality ab initio.
You know, I asked the question because we all know that Nigerian politicians, I mean, most of them do not respect the law. And that was why I asked if it was not too late for them to, you know, shamefully or otherwise revoke this decision. But Honorable Agada, let me come to you. How do we ensure that this does not lead to anarchy? You're a stakeholder in Benue State. How do we ensure this does not lead to anarchy?
Thank you very much. The politics in Benue is at the edge of leading to anarchy, because counting from the party polarization in Benue, the APC 1 and APC 2, PDP 1 and PDP 2, the use of thuggery to storm party secretariats, and today the amount of thugs that invaded the State House of Assembly to ensure that the 13 of us didn't even appear in the plenary, it's another thing. The use of thuggery and the use of violence now is becoming an order of the day. And for us to not drift to the path of anarchy, like you have said, all the major stakeholders who are interested parties, they know themselves, must come to the round table. We own this Benue. It is our home. We don't have any other home apart from Benue. And if for personal interest or political interest or any interest otherwise, we want to jeopardize the peace and harmony that we're enjoying in Benue State, then the Benue people will never forgive whoever is responsible for that. So I think it is getting out of hand already, and a lot has to be done, especially some sort of intervention from the federal level to come to Benue. If not, the balance of power it's not what is obtainable very soon as far as Benue State is concerned.
But Honorable Agada, you know your colleagues. You're a member of the House, State House of Assembly, and you know your colleagues very well. I mean, let me assume that you know your colleagues very well. Do you see them respecting the decision of the NJC and perhaps follow due process?
Come again?
Well, I said, you know, I can assume, or I could only assume that you know your colleagues very well. So do you see them respecting the decision of the NJC and perhaps follow due process?
They do not have any choice but to respect the law. It is the law. The law is a respecter of no man. You have performed an illegality and it has been declared null and void. Today, the Chief Judge was in his office today. He performed his duty today as the Chief Judge of Benue State in his office in Makurdi. And he was accompanied by security officers until later on the thugs came and covered the whole area, attempting to hold him hostage in the office. So it's a bad thing, but the law is a respecter of no man, and nobody is above the law, and we must ensure that those who are setting bad precedents in our society, especially in Benue, are taught to shy away from all of these practices. If not, they are setting bad precedences. They are teaching our people that illegality can stand in by the way of use of force. Illegality can have its way when force is applied. So it is something we should discourage,
so
especially.
So you just outrightly said federal government intervention is sacrosanct at this point to avert the breakdown of law and order. Are you indirectly asking Mr. President to intervene?
Yes, the intervention can come in several ways. The political solution, all we are talking about is politics, political interest, and balance of interest. If the spillover from the party APC party crisis is what we're experiencing here in the assembly, the removal of the attempted removal of the Chief Justice is another show of force to show that some interested parties are in control of the entire organs of government. So if we don't do the harmonization, if we don't call for unity, if we don't call for peace, this will escalate, and this can only come from above, because there's enough tension at the on the surface in Benue.
So I mean, we can only hope that they respect the law, the rule of law, so this does not lead to anarchy. Let me round off with you, Barrister. Legislative, executive, judiciary relationship. How do we enhance this in the country?
Sorry, come again? I didn't hear you.
Legislative, executive relationship and judicial relationship. How do we enhance this in the country going forward?
You see, in my opinion, this is very simple. The actions of the executive and those of the judiciary are guided by laid down procedures. All that needs to be done is for the heads of these arms of government to understand the doctrine of separation of powers and respect the laid down rules. Now it is possible. The question you may want to ask is that there are 36 states in Nigeria. Why is it that some states with the same structure are not experiencing what is happening in Benue? Something is wrong. It's possible that one person is acting outside the clear and unambiguous provisions of the guiding laws.
Okay.
And once that happens, anarchy is imminent. So how this can work is let the heads of the different arms of government learn to stay within the constitutional provisions of their duties, their roles and obligations. It is as simple as that. Once that happens, everybody will be fine. Yes.
All right, gentlemen, it's a good way to end this conversation tonight, but I'm hoping this is an ongoing development and we'll get the best of it in the coming days. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Barrister Wilson Yoshe, a legal practitioner based in Abuja, and also Honorable Ismaila Agada, member representing Ogbaribo constituency. Thank you so much for your time on Politics Tonight. Thank you.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. Just to let our viewers know, Honorable Cynthia Tisa, who is the majority leader of the Benue State House of Assembly, was supposed to be here. We've tried to reach him via calls and text messages, but the Honorable hasn't responded. We wanted him to speak on what led to the suspension of 13 members of the Assembly, and we'll wait to hear from him. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight, but you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and